Hello and a very warm welcome to the late-breaking F1 podcast presented by Harry Eade, Sam Sage, and me, Ben Hocking, on this, at least here, lovely and bright Sunday morning that I'm completely masking with all of my curtains. Wonderful.
Have you got lovely sunny weather in your part of the world, Ben?
Yes, I do.
Because I don't. Ben, Sam hasn't looked.
I haven't looked outside today. It's wet.
Oh.
It's grey and wet here.
Yeah, same. Well, Cornwall doing us proud.
Yeah, thank you, Cornwall.
As mentioned, I'm really taking advantage of it by not letting any of it in.
You have got the holy glow around your blind, though, which is...
the holy glow.
The YouTube watchers can see Beg's holy glow.
No, thank you.
It's a real tourist attraction, that holy glow. That's enough British talk about the weather. Let's move on. Let's start today's episode with a little bit on Audi and Sauber, because Sauber are to open a UK base this year as owner Audi gets ready for its official entry into F1 in 2026. A statement said that the new technical centre would be in the so-called Motorsport Valley in the southeast of England, so Audi can tap into the engineering talent there. The statement also said the base would provide the team with access to the world's largest motorsport expertise and talent pool and establish a platform to collaborate with top experts and attract local engineering talent for the Audi F1 project. Sauber has historically struggled to recruit engineers due to its Swiss location, whereas most teams, except Ferrari, have some sort of presence in the UK. The new base will integrate with the team's design department, which remains in Switzerland, while Audi's engine operations continue in Germany. Sam, do you think this is a particularly smart move, or is it more of a necessary one that had to happen?
Really makes me laugh, the idea that someone might be offered a job at Sauber and they'll decline it. You go, why? I just don't wish to move. And at the head office, they go, gosh darn that Swiss location. That this has become such a problem for them that Audi have gone, we're going to have to build...
I picked Milton Keynes.
Right? Switzerland.
Said no one ever.
One of the most gorgeous places in all of Earth. Milton Keynes.
Very similar, actually. very similar.
Love a roundabout.
Versus roundabout. Murray Hill.
You decide which wings. This is very sensible, I think. It is a bit of an infamous problem that Sauber have encountered over the years, that because they are nestled deep within Switzerland and it's almost excluded from the rest of the motorsport world, when you have got such a, breadth of talent that does live within the UK when it comes to motorsport and their engineering, when it comes to development, all forms really. And most of the teams sit within kind of about 10 miles from the next one for a reason. It does make total sense to bring yourself to where the talent is rather than expecting all of the talent to come to you and uproot their whole lives. So putting almost a satellite base that is going to have a speciality deep within an area that you can start to, you can burgle the talent from the direct rivals around you. What Red Bull did with Mercedes, for example, a few years ago and worked out brilliantly. And Aston Martin are very much now doing it from Red Bull themselves. It makes total sense to have that development elsewhere, and then you pick up that talent and bring it in-house. If Audi want to be a successful F1 base and they want to thrive for many years to come and do what Sauber never really could in Formula One, which is get past that kind of mid-table level, then they're going to have to make sure that they are putting out all the stops and bringing as much talent up and down the areas of expertise that they need as they can. So I think this is a very smart move. I think they've done it at the right time because it avoids the cost cap for them because they're building it outside of when they enter into Formula One, which is a good point to do it at. You don't want to be waiting a couple of years and think, in hindsight, we should have built this 3 years ago and now we spent 50 million on a building. That's not ideal. So this is smart, this is sensible, and hopefully it keeps them in the game for longer and ensures that they are a major employer in the UK. If we're going to be very British biased, then having another
employ, James.
Bloody love it when they build in Brighty. This makes sense all round for a business that's been part of Formula One, and also it's great to see that we're going to have more employment here in the F1 sphere within the UK.
Harry, what are your thoughts? Is this a clever move from Audi?
Yeah, I think it is. And it also, we've spoken before about, the rumours of their commitment to F1. I think this helps shut them up a little bit if they're now deciding to build a base here in the UK as well. Like Sam says, I think it's a very, very sensible move to have them to have a base here. it is F1 F1 Motorsport Valley. It does exist in the UK, and I think it is sensible to set up a base here. And as you say, Sam, be able to poach the talent that is around, because there are lots of people who work in F1 who don't want to move away. They don't want to move to the mountains of Switzerland. They love Milton Keynes. But it is a fact. I think people, they don't want to. They don't want to. A lot of them have families. They don't want to uproot their lives. It could have been a strong contender for why Adrian Newey didn't go to Ferrari.
So you hear it with Ferrari, right? It's Ferrari. All that talent and history, yet they still even struggle to get people to come from the UK to Maranello, and it's Ferrari.
Yeah, and even when they do, you often have situations in Ferrari where they have people who work for them who don't go and live in Italy, and it's just a trickier situation to have. So I think it's this very sensible move from Audi, and will allow them to just poach the talent that they want to. Obviously, they've already got Jonathan Wheatley, who's going to be in charge. He is British. I mean, he can't just stay in the UK, obviously, but he clearly recognises that. And Red Bull have been so successful, despite being an Austrian team. Red Bull have been so successful being based out of Milton Keynes that maybe that's a bit of his influence there coming on board. But yeah, overall, very, very good call. And like I said, I think it's good to see that they are committed to this. This isn't Nico Hülkenberg's delighted. Thank God they are committed. I think overall good call.
Yeah, this feels like an obvious move, a sensible move, logical move for sure. I can't lie. This isn't fair of me to say this about Audi and Sauber. It's a slightly disappointing move, just in that F1 should be and somewhat is a global sport, and having all of the talent concentrated in one small area of the world, to me, has never quite felt right. It's logical, so I can't blame them for just joining what others have already done. But it's a move that ever so slightly takes away from talent pools all around the world and concentrates it into this very small area of the UK. Again, it's not fair of me to just criticize Audi for this, because they're only joining what others have done. But yeah, that a small part of me just would like to maintain the global element of the sport. They have, as already mentioned, struggled to find the best talent available because of their location in Switzerland. So that's where the logical part of this comes in. And people matter. It sounds like an obvious thing to say, but a lot of the time, because we're so focused on what is happening out on track between drivers very specifically, that we forget to focus on everything behind the scenes that gives them the necessary tools to fight for these championships. If we think back to Red Bull and Mercedes and the dominance going from Mercedes to Red Bull, so much attention goes on to Verstappen versus Hamilton, Christian Horner versus Toto Wolff. People forget, like, one of the major reasons that dominance switched was because what did Red Bull do? They pinched all the Mercedes employees that were winning them all the titles. So people matter, and putting yourself in a position to poach some of that talent is absolutely a clever thing to do. Sam, you've already referenced that whenever people talk about Audi's big upcoming season, they talk about 2026, but it's 2025. Like, that's the big year. That's the year they can make all of these infrastructure changes, upgrades, new bases without falling under the cost cap. Yes, Binotto might be there. Yes, Wheatley might be coming, but they need to bolster the ranks significantly. They can't just go ahead with the same team that has got them to where they are right now, because where they are right now is a long way off where they need to be. So, yes, it doesn't guarantee success for sure. I'm not saying that. Toyota's a good example of a team that put in a UK base and it didn't pay off for them. But certainly having the combination of a UK base plus more of a household name of Audi compared to Sauber in the sort of motorsport industry, in the sort of manufacturing industry, I guess you could say, that will bolster them as a prospect compared to what they were before this move.
Do you think, Ben, there's on a wider level, having this motorsport valley is in some way a deterrent from Formula One becoming a fully global sport? Because it makes something like a team from Australia or someone from East Asia, we've only just got Haas in America, much less viable because they can't share that talent as easily.
Yeah, 100%. I do think it is, especially like you could say, oh, well, Australia, if no other team is operating in Australia, then they've got a massive talent pool to work with. But then you consider how spread out people are. Like Motorsport Valley it covers about 50 miles as a radius. You know, just being based in Australia, let's say you're based in Melbourne, doesn't mean you immediately have all of the talent available to you in Australia. Like that doesn't, you know, Perth is absolutely miles and miles away. And same with the US as well. Like you might be able to, as Haas have done, they're based in North Carolina. You might have talent in and around there, but that doesn't mean you're easily accessible for talent in Los Angeles. So I understand how the talent has all sort of got into one small sphere in the UK. But yeah, I do think it's a deterrent for others, or at least a deterrent in that if you don't set up a UK base, you're going to be at a disadvantage. Harry, how much of a game changer could it be? Do you think this will just allow them to almost catch up to the others, or do you think it could be a bigger move than that?
I think in the short term, I think this allows them to at least be on more of a level playing field than they are now. Sauber, or Stake or whatever you want to call them, have obviously always been operated out of Switzerland. They've had different guises over the years. Obviously, the Alfa Romeo livery, effectively, they didn't really do much. Before that was BMW, so they had the mighty BMW behind them. But Sauber themselves have always been operated out of Switzerland, and without sounding too cruel, they've never had really any success. They've had a bit of minor success here and there. They picked up the one win as BMW Sauber, but for the rest of the time, not much. So I think this at least for the short term allows them to be on that level playing field with the rest of the teams, and then from there, who knows? It could be what helps them, make the jump. As you say, if they are stealing members of that's not going to happen straight away, but they are starting to poach members from other teams, then that could be the game changer. And you reference Red Bull and Mercedes, it could be that sort of situation there. So yeah, I don't think straight away it's gonna make a huge difference, but I think it will just allow them to be able to, now we can fight, to quote Fernando Alonso. I think it will allow them to do that in the short term, and then it's a good basis to go from there.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, the expansion of the pool is absolutely critical for them, and it can lead to a domino effect as well. You know, I'm not saying it's like a Cornish fishing village in the southeast of England, but people talk, and if one person goes, everyone knows everyone, right? As long as one person goes, then that could lead to another 3 people going. Those 3 people going could lead to another 10. Like, just being involved in the fight is critical for them. Even with them moving to the southeast of England, Sam, it increases the talent pool available, but it also increases the competition. We've already mentioned that Audi is a bit of a household name, but what is the pitch for Sauber/Audi to these engineers, to these individuals, to say you should leave the team you're at now that are having more success than us, but you should come because of X, Y, and Z? What's the pitch?
I think Audi have the ability to use the household name element, right? They are a global manufacturer. They are known across multiple different championships and have success in so many different areas. And I think that is a key part of a door that they can open, which someone like Williams, for example, who they will be in direct competition with when they enter the sport, can't do. Williams have the history. They have the heritage within Formula One. That doesn't mean that Audi isn't going to go on and win championships first. There's every way that Audi have more money than Williams. They have more of a talent pool outside of kind of this immediate UK hub. You know, they have their, Hillwell in Switzerland. Yes. They have their base in Germany as well that do their engines. So if you're massively into engines, you think, well, why can't I go and do 6 months in Germany and then do 6 months in the UK, and I can learn far more. I can further my trade. Instead of if you're at Williams and you're working on engines, you go, that's just Mercedes. I don't ever get to have a say about what goes on at Mercedes. I just have to accept an engine here, and I might get to tinker with it a little bit to make it work for our car. There's a lot of opportunity at Audi being completely in-house. And because they are also their own manufacturer, both with engines and with the car, Bruce McLaren, for example, when he founded McLaren, he's obviously from New Zealand, and he came all the way to the UK, right? The hub is here in the UK, it's in Woking. You know, it's not in New Zealand. There's a reason why you bring it here, and they've been so successful. But again, the difference between McLaren and Audi is Audi's 100% in-house. They don't have to buy any parts in. They're not working with other teams to make sure they get their resources from them, which includes those engines, those gearboxes. the breadth of opportunity within a place like Audi, very much like Mercedes, allows for so much more growth, so much more opportunity, and so much more development as an individual. If you are someone who's in aerodynamics, or if you're someone who is in engines, and you think, I love F1, I don't want it to be my career for the next 50 years. I only want to do 10 years in Formula One. Okay, fine. You join Audi. Okay, what else has Audi got going on? Well, maybe they're moving into endurance. Maybe they're going into some form of GT3 racing. Okay, well, I love those things. Now, can I transition to there? Or vice versa? You know, and it just means that Audi will almost have its own talent pool that can be shared and grown that a lot of these teams won't have. If you look at your Williams, you look at your McLarens, who, despite being very successful right now, haven't broken the ceiling into the dominance that Mercedes and Red Bull have for a very long time. And I guess that's where Sauber initially have struggled, because they were essentially a Williams. They were a McLaren. They came into Formula One in 1993. So later they're both Williams and McLaren, but they've had enough years now to mount some kind of challenge to create a successful push. And they've never done it. That being because they've never had that groundwork in being in Motorsport Valley where they can pick up that talent. They've never had the direct investment, as we've already mentioned on the Alfa Romeo side. The BMW side wasn't there long enough. They've always had to lean on someone fully to make sure that they are going to be successful. It's never paid off. But now they could be a real force to be reckoned with. And surely, if you want to jump on early, see yourself in that opportunity early where you can really thrive in a growing enterprise, now's the time to do it. Now seems like if you're looking for a new opportunity, that could be very exciting. And you haven't got to travel half a continent away to do it anymore.
Harry, with 3 locations in the mix, potential for inefficiencies if it's not managed well enough?
Yeah, I'm thinking McLaren, Honda type issues potentially. We've seen that Honda are going to, have some sort of base over here for when they're with Aston Martin. The potential's there. Having said that, Honda and Red Bull worked pretty well, so it doesn't mean it has to be a disaster. But there is that worry, and Mercedes have their engine factory in Brixworth, so that's also in the UK. You look at Red Bull what they're going to do with Ford or their own powertrains, Red Bull powertrains, Ford powertrains. That's based in the UK too. So there is that worry if you spread out over various locations, but. They're Audi. You'd suspect they'd be okay at managing that sort of thing. They've been here, not in F1, but they've been here before in motor racing, obviously with WEC, and you'd hope they'd be okay to cover ground over 3 locations. We also live in a different world. I know I made the reference to McLaren and Honda. We live in a different world to we did in 2015, 2014. We had COVID. We all like Zoom now, so I think those sorts of things are issues of the past.
Don't push that too far.
Or liking Zoom.
Yeah, I mean, on the flip side, a modern example of it completely failing is Alpine, right?
That's where I was going. Yeah,
the Engstone base, and then right, it just doesn't work. They've had to fold their entire engine cycle, sell it off to get Mercedes in. But there is also a lot of chat about how the French contingent and the UK contingent don't particularly see eye to eye, even when they're working together, and they sit separately inside their pit garage. So there can be a real clash of cultures going on there if they don't get it right.
Sacrilege.
100%. Yeah, Alpine was exactly where I was going as well. And I appreciate Alpine are experts in managing to mess up literally anything, but
correct. That's
2 locations. Audi are going to have 1 more to contend with. And with the greatest respect, Mattia Binotto, I still have my doubts. Like I until I see it happen in front of me, where the communication is perfect between the 3 locations, based on his time at Ferrari, am I full to the brim with confidence that Binotto is going to manage this situation? I can't wait to be proven wrong, but no, I don't have that confidence yet until I see it. So I think it's right to at least have some doubts about whether this is going to work. And yeah, comms is going to be critical because they can't afford they can't afford for this to go wrong. Even early on, they can't afford for this to go wrong. Let's take our first break on this episode. On the other side, we're talking Netflix.
Ooh. And chill.
Without the chill. Welcome back, everyone. Netflix is emerging as a potential new home for Formula One in the United States as the bidding process for live broadcast rights from 2026 begins. The streaming service has been key in growing the championship with the upcoming release of Drive to Survive's 7th season. Autosport understands Netflix is considering a bid for F1's live streaming rights as ESPN's exclusivity period has expired. ESPN is expected to not renew its deal with Liberty Media, which currently pays $90 million annually. Drive to Survive, which premiered in 2019, became a big hit, of course, during the COVID lockdowns. The upcoming season may be the last that Netflix has a contract for, while a new docuseries on the F1 Academy will also debut later this year. Harry, do you think this is a good move for F1 and for Netflix?
Yeah, well, yes. For F1's exposure, yes, I think it is a good move because you're going to expose it to people who I don't know the figures, but there must be a lot of people who have Netflix who don't subscribe or buy ESPN in the US. Don't come at me if people do, if that's not true. The entirety of the US.
America is coming down.
Yeah. But I would hazard a guess that's the way it is. So I think from an exposure point of view, I can see why F1 will be considering this. For Netflix, it's a win, obviously, to stream F1. They don't do a huge amount of streaming sport. There's been a bit, but it's not been massive. So this would be a coup, certainly, if they can secure the rights to that. My only concern would be, and look, I'm sure Netflix would do a good job, but they're not a sports channel, and I worry how F1 might begin to be presented by a Netflix streaming service. I'm not saying it'll become like Drive to Survive, which is, sometimes bends the truth or exaggerates the truth.
You what?
Somewhat.
Bends the truth? Come on.
I mean, really bends the truth. But I would, and I'm not suggesting they would do this, and I don't think F1 would let them, but I would hate for that to seep into any sort of... And Drive to Survive is its own entity. It does a job. Streaming F1, it needs to stay as it is in terms of what is presented is what's happening, and I wouldn't want them to do anything to jeopardize that. I'm not suggesting they would, but that would be my only concern. But overall, it's the sign of the growth of the sport. It continues. I mean, even to say this sentence 5 years ago would be like, what? Mad. But now it seems like quite a viable option. So overall, a good call. I just hope if it does happen, they don't start playing random team radios over random bits of footage as they do in Drive to Survive sometimes, but I don't think they will.
And put V8 engines over the top of the cars.
Welcome to 2005. We're back.
Oh.
Kimmy Räikkönen will get flashbacks. I'm up.
Tag me in, boss. I'm in.
Tag me in. It's bold, that's for sure. If this does come off, I think it would be a net positive with a couple of question marks. And to be honest, I think the question marks that you raise, Harry, are the same ones that I have. Drive to Survive has massively boosted visibility in the United States and indeed all around the globe. And it has, I think, more than just increased visibility. It's really captured a demographic that F1 has really struggled with over the last 20 years or so, which is this younger demographic. If you think back, let's say 10 years to like 2015, 2016, there was really remember F1's social media presence, or rather don't remember it because there wasn't any. Like they just did a horrible job or didn't even try capturing these younger fans. Drive to Survive has absolutely filled in that gap. So the potential for an increase in reach from having it on Netflix is definite. There's also the potential, I guess, of different viewing experiences just based on, yes, Netflix is not experienced in the sports game, but they are experienced overall. There might be some added insights, there might be some added camera views, whatever it might be that Netflix could help provide. But I agree with you, the quality of coverage is definitely going to be the biggest question mark here. They are still new to this sports live streaming game. They've got a couple of Women's World Cups coming up in 2027 and 2031. But of course, that's not going to help them if this comes in 2026. They had if you remember, the Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fight last year, but they had streaming issues with that. I was
going to say that went really badly, didn't it?
Yeah. That's the thing. It ended up being like the most streamed something of all time, and yet it had so many issues. And then I guess in terms of a long-term deal, the most significant one is the WWE, and more recently signing up to a 10-year deal. So that's only kicked off, I think, a month ago. So in theory, maybe 2026 would be the right time if Netflix has a full year of producing weekly live streaming television as a result of that programming. Maybe that they can iron out the issues in those 12 months. That remains to be seen. Sam, good move for F1?
Yeah, I think so. I say that with some trepidation. ESPN weren't doing a bad job. They were averaging about 1.2 million viewers per race over 2024. That was an increase on 2023. I think they were on 1.1. So there is an audience there. But when you think about the population of America, over 350 million people live in America, live in just the United States. That's a very large audience, and you are missing a huge part of it. So I bet you there's more people that have a Netflix subscription than watch Formula One on ESPN. And if you can market yourselves on the platform and go, give it a go, you like sport, you like other sport, well, it's here now, why don't you try it out? You have this access to a huge wealth of viewers that might have never tried Formula One in America. They might have even seen Drive to Survive advertised or gone, oh yeah, I'll watch Drive to Survive, but I've got nowhere to watch the full season because I don't watch ESPN, or I don't watch ABC or ESPN2. And therefore I go, oh, actually, it's right there. I've watched Drive to Survive. And now it's streaming live next door to the thing I'm already watching. I just go over to that now. But they have to maintain a lot of key things. The energy level has to be the same. People will be expecting a product, I think. If you come from Drive to Survive and go straight into live Formula One on Netflix, you're expecting a tone of voice. You're expecting a certain presentation. It cannot be 3 60-plus white men from the UK going, well, it wasn't like this in the 80s, because as much as veterans of the sport like us go, okay, there's some value there. We enjoy some of that. It also gets very boring very quick. And you listening to this show, there's a reason why you're listening to this and not some other podcasts, because there are some that go, da, 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 da,
because
da.
you're lost.
I clicked on the wrong thing. Well, I did Formula One in the 70s. I'm like, I respect you for that. But also, it can be dull. So they have to present it in the right manner. You're right, Ben, to bring up the WWE and the fight that they had. You can't be having a streaming service. Actually, Ben, you are quite a good advocate for this. You recently moved from Now TV to Sky, and you're going to be watching F1 on Sky TV. They cannot have a delay in that streaming service because of the implementation that social media now has on live sport. And the way group chats happen, the way our Discord happens, you can't be 3-4 minutes behind on a streaming service. You need to be within the second to make sure that someone watching on your platform can see the action unfold within a second or two as to what the live stream on Sky or whatever it might be around the world is watching it, because you can't be 2 minutes late to a big crash. You imagine if you saw the 2021 Abu Dhabi moment 4 minutes behind everyone else, and everyone was like, oh, we've already talked about it, mate. We've moved on. We're at the end of the race. You're still at the safety car. That can break a person's experience of watching live sport unfold. So there's a lot of issues they're going to have to overcome. There's a lot of problems they're going to have to try and work out. But I do think from an overall consumer experience in America for growing Formula One, it feels like a very, very natural place for it to live. But I think ESPN are missing a trick. I really do think they had a good chance to build something there, and I think they've missed out.
Give it to NBC and get Lee Diffie.
There we go. That's sorted.
And have ad breaks every 30 seconds.
True. That's where Tom Gaymore comes in, of course.
Poor Tom Gaymore.
Harry, do you think Liberty will only be focused with the bottom line of how much they can get from this deal? I mean, we're talking Netflix here, but there's likely to be other names in the mix as well. Are they just going to go all out, try and secure the absolute best possible deal from a monetary perspective? Or will they actually consider where their product is going and the value of that?
I think, I know cash is king in this business, but I think Liberty are the job they've done hasn't just been, I mean, it's made them money, obviously, but it's been about the quality of the product that's made them money, not just, if you wanted to just make money, you do what Bernie and CVC were doing beforehand and you just make money from, you use it as a cash cow, and you go to circuits that pay money, extraordinary amounts of money to be there for a few years. Valencia, looking at you, Yilnam. You set it out to TV, pay-per-view TV channels. There was no sign of streaming at that point. It was just going behind paywalls. And I know streaming is, but it's different, isn't it? Because people are already paying for that service. So if they wanted to do, I believe Liberty would do what's in the best interest to promote the sport. Yes, it will still make them a huge amount of moolah, but I don't just think they're going to do it for the money. So I think they'll do it based on what will expand our reach the most. And I suspect the Netflix deal will do that, and also make them a lot of money along the way. So it's probably a win-win for them. But I don't believe that, given all the work they've done so far, I don't believe Liberty were just going to take the best monetary deal.
Yeah, I'm choosing to be a bit less skeptical on this as well. I do actually think they will consider where their product goes and not just the number of the deal. The long-term balance of the sport is really in the picture with this. Like, it does matter. We don't know how long this next deal will last, but we are getting to the point of almost consolidating after some of the growth that the sport has had. So it's critical that whatever the next broadcast partner is able to continue the momentum that we've already got. And Liberty have proven in the past with ESPN that they are willing to sacrifice a bit in terms of initial fees for long-term gain. When ESPN returned to broadcast the sport in 2018, F1 waived all of the traditional broadcast fees for the first year, which is unusual, but something that's definitely worked out because that deal has just increased over time. It went from nothing in 2018 to $5 million a year from 2019 to 2022, and it's now sitting this 3-year stretch from 23 to 25 at $90 million per year. So theoretically, that number is going to be even bigger when it comes to 2026. And you want to go back to Netflix and back to the WWE example, that is a deal that works out of $500 million per year. So Netflix have deep pockets. If they see a product and they like it, they will likely get on board with it. Sam, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think they're not stupid, are they, at Liberty? They kind of know what they're on about. They seem to be planners of the future. When Liberty came in and actually picked up Formula One as a product, we were a little skeptical. There were lots of talks of make every event a Super Bowl, turn every event into a show, its own a big touring circus, they called it, to go to every event. And then we were like, well, how do they replicate that online through us watching it who are at home? And you have things like the mariachi band playing the F1 theme tune in that Mexican style, which is always fantastic, right? We had the Dallas cheerleaders who are at COTA, for example, this season. They are really reaching out, and I think that is also showing a reflect of how the likes of Lewis Hamilton, Daniel Ricciardo are now investors in American football, for example, and are known athletes. And when was the last time a Formula One driver was really almost a global name in America, where people would put them up there with your Tiger Woods, your Michael Jordans? Like, Lewis Hamilton has reached that level. Max Verstappen is reaching that level. It is that long-term planning is paying off for them. And if they can get more bums on the seats and more eyes on a screen and they're watching a Formula One product, well, that translates into people buying merch, people following social media channels, people buying tickets to events, whether that be races or not, and subscriptions lasting longer. And in turn, they go, well, you've got more people paying for Netflix, so that means more money coming our way because our product's better. So I do think that they, as very much they did with ESPN, they would almost be willing to say, if Netflix, you can forecast that we're going to end up having 10 million average viewers a year, a race, rather than the 1.2 we've currently got now, in 10 years' time, we will let you pay 90 million a year for 5 years, and then we're going to ramp it up because you're making more money off that as well. And if that grows Formula One, I'm all for it, because that means more listeners for us. It means more of people to talk to about F1. And we bloody love that. So keep being clever, Liberty, because it's worked for you so far.
There's the added thing here of, Netflix, if they were to bid for the 2026 rights in the United States, that could open the door for them bidding for the global rights in 2029. And traditionally, ESPN, apart from the 3 home races that they do, they just take whatever Sky Sports do, and they don't produce their own version of the broadcast. Regardless of who it is, Harry, whether it's Netflix or someone else, do you think the next partner will continue that model of, for the most part, taking what Sky do, or do you think they'll look to bring in their own team?
I think they'll bring in their own team. I think if they're serious about this, and that I suspect they would be, they don't want to put their own spin on it. So having Crofty coming at your commentary during a race on Netflix just isn't what their I don't suspect that's going to be their style. So if they get this, I think they'll be committed. They'll be committed properly and do it. And for ESPN, I get it because it's the cost efficient version of doing things. And it's, you still get a good broadcast with it. But I suspect Netflix will want to do this properly and get their own team together. And if they do end up going for the global rights, that'd be interesting because who they might poach in that would be interesting to see.
Yeah, definitely. Netflix showed that with the couple of Christmas Day NFL games that they're not afraid to pay up for serious talent on the broadcast. Like I can't remember how many exactly, but they got a lot of big names from the NFL media world to do those couple of games. They brought in their own team. And I feel like you're right that even if it's not Netflix and it's someone else, there might be a bigger push to do it their way rather than just follow whatever Sky have done.
Also, we are available.
Yes. Well, that goes against my next point. Would they not go for some American talent, given it's for the US, which rules us out? But
no.
Having said that, no.
We are the largest podcast in America.
Howdy, y'all.
Come and talk to us, please.
Flats out and away we go.
I promise I won't do an American accent.
Can't promise anything.
Just a question, actually, listeners. Comment. You can comment everywhere where you leave your 5-star reviews. How assimilated to Crofty are you in America? Because obviously, Drive to Survive do use a lot of his commentary across the race clips. So I'd be interested to know, because you guys listen to F1 TV, so you've had different commentators for a lot of the races. But I do wonder how much Crofty is in the subconscious.
Too much,
America.
I think.
Too much, maybe.
Well, I think they've got the option. So if you are signed up to F1 TV, then you've got Alex Jakes in the team. But if you are watching on ESPN, I believe that's just the exact copy of what we've got in the UK. So that would be Crofty and Brundle. But
very curious to know how many people are like, that's the voice of F1 for me as a new watcher.
I still think the voice is James Allen.
It is.
Murray, can we just do an AI Murray Walker, please?
The thing is,
love that.
Do you know Netflix should get?
Who's that?
Jonathan Ledyard.
Oh,
the big Ledyard.
He was terrible.
Sorry, Jonathan.
Listens to the show.
Big John.
Yeah, you can't say that. He listens. Big fan.
Sorry, John. Didn't realise you were such a big fan
of the podcast.
Apparently.
Right. Shall we take our second break on this episode? On the other side, we're giving our thoughts on Zhou Guanyu joining Ferrari as a reserve driver. Welcome back, everyone. Zhou Guanyu has joined or rejoined Ferrari, I guess you could say. He was previously a member of the Ferrari Driver Academy. He's rejoined Ferrari as a reserve driver for the upcoming 2025 season. He'll perform the role alongside Antonio Giovinazzi. Of course, we know that Oliver Bearman last year stood in for Carlos Sainz at Ferrari at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. But maybe if that were to happen again this year, it would be Zhou Guanyu in that situation instead. Of course, with Bearman now racing in F1 full-time with Haas. He has been very open that he wants to return to F1 in 2026. Does this help him out in any way at all?
I mean, it makes sense to keep him semi-relevant, but unfortunately, I can't think of what Zhou Guanyu can offer a team that they can't get elsewhere anymore. The only niche opportunity that he can provide will be sales of cars in mainland China, of course. He's a superstar across China. Obviously, if you haven't noticed, if you haven't done your geography recently, they've got a lot of people in China. Quite a few live there. You know,
great point.
There's a lot of customers available to you. So if you want to sell cars, like a lot of people do be driving, then maybe that makes sense to have. But unfortunately, gone are the days of paid drivers where they bring in some kind of outside marketing point of view. Williams don't seem to need it with Doralton Capital taking over. Sauber are now Audi and they have their own funds. McLaren are flying when it comes to cash injections with the Middle East being a big part of that, as are Aston Martin, of course. There's a lot of teams as well that are now just their own manufacturers. So Zhou Guanyu can't effectively buy his way onto the grid. And I don't think he's got the raw talent to outclass anyone on the grid. And if you were going to pick up a driver, I feel like you'd rather take a punt on youth and someone who maybe is a bit like what Behrman managed to do for them at Saudi when he came in, when he stepped in for that one race, and give him a go and see what that talent could do, rather than have a pair of hands that was all right. It was never brilliant. So I feel like his endeavours back into F1 are very, very unlikely. But just like what I mentioned with Audi in the previous point, Ferrari have those similar connections. If he still wants to go racing, if he still wants to be a part of a racing family that holds a lot of heritage, a lot of history, can pay him quite handsomely, I'm sure, and allows him many an opportunity. Ferrari are a great choice at that. They've got their hypercar program. They've got their endurance team that runs as well. Being a Ferrari ambassador, I'm sure, does you quite handsomely across the globe if you ever turn up in a Ferrari shirt with the team behind you. So opportunities are there. He will have a very cushy career, I'm sure, that revolves in and around racing for a long time. But I cannot see him getting back on this F1 grid anytime soon.
Harry, would you agree with that? Or do you think the Ferrari move could help him out?
I'm just going to say Giancarlo Fisichella.
Oh,
it's what there's reeks of. No, I mean that in a good way. Look, for Zhou Guanyu, why wouldn't his aim still be to get back into F1? It's the reason why Bottas is now reserved for Mercedes. It keeps you front of mind for teams, and as you mentioned, if there are opportunities where they need their main drivers out for any reason, these reserve drivers are the ones that get in the car, and often that's all it takes. Nick de Vries, again, had one race, and they gave him a drive. So sometimes that's all you need. So it's sensible in that regard. But I'm with you, Sam. Even if this doesn't end up with an F1 drive, which I would think probably quite unlikely, this is good for him for the remainder of his racing career. I mentioned Fisichella because he did those last few races at Ferrari in 2009 and then just became like driver / ambassador / reserve driver / he became the prancing horse effectively and has been racing, Ferraris and GTs and WEC and stuff, since that point. So this is a good move for the rest of his career, I'm sure, to be associated with Ferrari. And who knows, maybe there will be an odd race this year where he has to fill in. And that's not a bad thing at all. But to make it back on the F1 grid, I find unlikely, but overall, sensible move. And for Ferrari, yeah, as you mentioned, they've got a representative that can help them sell cars in the China market. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, I have to agree. I don't think this helps him get back on the 2026 grid. No disrespect to Zhou, who I really like as a person, but I just don't think that with the competition for seats the way that it is now, he's up to scratch. I think based on the 3 seasons that we saw of him, he's not up to scratch. So if someone wants to pick him up for 2026, they'll do so as a result of his backing. And being part or not part of the Ferrari program as a reserve driver, that doesn't influence the backing that Zhou Guanyu has. So the reason someone would take him is unaffected. So I don't think this really changes anything. And look, rightly or wrongly, if another Saudi Arabia of last year happened, and it probably should, because Saudi Arabia has reinvested a lot. If you think back to that Grand Prix, if he does the same job as Oliver Behrman, does he get the same praise? Because let's just say he does exactly the same job as Behrman. He qualifies 11th, finishes 8th or 7th or whatever it ended up being. He would get a pat on the back. He'd get, good job. But I feel like most people would probably say he's recently been in F1. okay, he did a job.
Sykes would have done better.
Yeah, and I mean that, and I'm not even saying that's right. And maybe he should receive more credit for that if he were to do something like that. But I feel like that's the way it would go, rather than Oliver Behrman, who's never done an F1 race before. The credit he received, it really helped his case for a 2025 seat. So yeah, and in terms of getting on-track experience as well, it is getting trickier for non-rookies to get free practice sessions, just based on the requirements increasing this year, isn't it, for the number of sessions that a rookie needs to replace a driver for. Last year it was 1 per driver. This year it's going to be 2. So it's difficult to say to one of your usual drivers, you know, you've got 24 races in a season, 6 of them are sprints, so you can discount those because you only get 1 practice session. Of the other 18, you already need to give 2 of them up. Hey, do you fancy giving up another 2 for Zhou Guanyu or a driver that's not a rookie? It's going to be hard to convince them of that. So, yeah, I'm not sure how valuable this is going to be.
I do win the best dressed team award, though. Lewis, Leclerc, Zhou Guanyu, and the Italian Jesus. I mean,
fair.
That's a mighty looking team. They turn up to any show. They bring in the house down boots, I think the LGBTQ plus community would say.
I shall take your word for that.
Good. Proud of myself for that.
With the move here, Zhou Guanyu obviously has very recent F1 experience. Sam, if we're not thinking about F1 for 2026 and anything like that, just looking at the role, how important do you think it could be for Ferrari that they've got someone in that spot who has been racing as soon as last year?
I'd like to say it's a good thing, but he was driving an absolute pile of crap for the last 2 or 3 seasons. So it's not like he's left Red Bull and he's now become the reserve driver, and he can give you direct experience of a car that was good. I guess he can tell you everything that was bad and what not to do. Hey, see that green thing over there? Don't put that on your car, because last time you put green on the car, it was rubbish. Yeah, I'd like to think it is valuable. He'll understand, you know, the aerodynamics, how a car should feel. There will be elements of it to that. But unless I'm completely mistaken, I've not heard brilliance about his feedback. I've not heard that he's one of these drivers that in kind of testing periods, he gives incredible feedback to cars and he's able to help the team develop the car and allow it to grow. So I think, yeah, it's fine. I think this is more of a name pickup. I don't think they picked him up for his testing prowess and the ability to develop a car when it's not on the racetrack. That's okay. They've got other people. Ferrari, they have a whole roster of drivers that they can go, can you drive it, please?
Fizzy.
You're very good. Fizzy, back in the car. I actually heard, if you really zoom in on the prancing pony, it's actually Fizzy's face.
Yeah.
With his papers trying to get the Tanzania Grand Prix.
Holding the flag up for Tanzania.
Still my favourite random thing of the last couple of years.
Anyway, yeah, Zhou Guanyu, I think he's a great ambassador for them. I don't think he's going to be bringing too much valuable insight into the development for that Ferrari. But if they win a championship, put it all down to Zhou.
I like that. Yeah, I think he'll be beneficial in the role. Like, having recent F1 experience is really useful for that reserve driver role. There's a reason that I don't want to say there's a time limit for drivers that have left the sport, but generally speaking, the further detached you are from the current cars, the more difficult it is to do your job. So Giovinazzi, of course, has somewhat recent experience, but not as recent as Zhou. So I think it's a good pickup in that regard. Harry, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, the recency of his F1 career will help, but I'm with Sam in terms of, I think this is more of a marketing pickup than it is anything else. But like you say, Ben, he will still have some knowledge that he can impart, but especially versus Giovinazzi or Italian Jesus, if everyone didn't get what Sam was talking about there.
Oh yeah, sorry.
He will have, he's got more knowledge versus that, so it will be useful in that regard. But I think overall, this is more. It's been more of a marketing ploy than anything else.
Let's move on to the 2025 season start times. They've been announced. The only significant...
What? They've been announced?
Yeah,
I didn't know that. Whoa!
Oh my God, news, breaking news.
It dropped, I should say.
If we say breaking news enough on this show, it will feel exciting.
Whoa! We need like explosion sound effects. Nico Rosberg style.
Oh God, yeah. That was great when you used to do that on YouTube.
You'll like this next bit then, Harry.
Oh God, hang on. I'm just going to buckle in. Go.
Start times have been announced for the 2025 season. 23 of them are exactly the same as last year.
Whoa!
Bam!
No change. But there is one change.
Shut the front door. Get out of town.
One change.
One change
Vegas.
is all it takes.
Oh,
good.
Vegas. Why? What have they done?
So last year and the year before, the Las Vegas Grand Prix started at 10 p.m. local time, which is 6 a.m. in the UK. They're moving it back 2 hours. So it's going to be an 8 p.m. start time local, which is 4 a.m. in the UK. Anyone want to complain? I don't, but I just want to... You sure?
Can I make a point? I didn't make it up for the 6 a.m. last year, so this is... got no hope in hell.
I forgot you weren't awake.
Oh, that's a disaster.
To be fair, remembering your story from last year, I think you went to sleep at like 4 a.m.
Oh, yeah, to be fair, I was working, but... well, then that might work.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
Stay awake.
Yeah. I don't want to complain, but that sucks.
Is it a good or bad move?
I understand why. Look, for the reason it was at this time was because of they wanted to cater for all audiences here, but they weren't really catering for anyone, to be honest, because it was still pretty early for Europe. It was pretty poor still for people who even lived in America. A lot of them.
1 a.m. on the East Coast, something like that.
Yeah, that's crap.
To start a race at 1 a.m. is rough.
So at least this gives that side of the world a fighting chance with that being 11 p.m. start time rather than a 1 a.m. And I think they obviously want Vegas to be the biggest race ever known to man every year. But I think at some point they've got to admit defeat and look, it's a race in the US. Let's at least cater to that audience in the same way that all European races cater to European audiences. And I know it's always been that way, but I think it's just the way it has been. We've seen with like Australia, when we used to have the Australian Grand Prix, it used to be like 1, 2 a.m. back in the day. Now it's more like 4, 5, or maybe 6 a.m. because they're trying to cater to the audiences. But often we're like, it's pretty sunsetty by the time the race finishes there. And that's just a reflection of what they've been trying to do. But I think sometimes you've got to admit defeat and just cater to the country that you're racing in and leave it at that. So I think it's a good thing, even if we will now complain for the next 10 months about this.
Who's we?
Me.
Yeah, I'm saying nothing.
We've got it really tough.
You. Can you change that asterisk? You.
I'm using the royal we. One has it very tough.
Do other countries have a royal we?
Well, I don't know. Do you have? Does it only count if you have a royal family in your country?
Or is it just is it a literary choice?
I don't know. Does it relate to the royal family, or does it Ben's figures?
So done.
Please write in. Let us know. In America, do you have the royal we, or is it the independent we, or something like that?
Like the fourth we.
I'm confident in saying I don't know.
Would you like the fourth we?
Oh god, we killed Sam off as well.
Sorry, everyone.
Is this how you thought this segment would go, Ben?
Yeah, to be honest.
All right. Constitutional hill we.
I plead the we.
That's why Nintendo have got the Wii, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, they had to plead it for. Fair enough. You can sell it worldwide.
Anyway, do I think it's a good idea? Yeah, I think this is a fantastic idea, and for many reasons, not just for where you're watching it. Yeah, it is tough for a UK viewer. It's tough for a European viewer. But you know what? We ain't the center of the world, and I know that is a bizarre thought when it comes to Formula One, but we're not, and we get it easy a lot of the time. We want Formula One to grow in America. We want the people of Las Vegas to like Formula One because winding up an entire city is not good. So if we can make their lives more palatable, that's great. But the viewership needs to be increasing. It needs to be sustainable. We can't be having what is seen as a global event, a Super Bowl, as they've already mentioned, being broadcast at one of the most unpalatable hours of the day. And it's not just the broadcast side of things. We've already seen issues when it comes to what if there's a track problem? What if there's a repair issue? What if staffing needs to be accounted for? What if people need to get to and from the racetrack? Well, having it earlier means a lot of these issues go away. You give yourself more of a bracket to get stuff done. If there is a drain problem, if someone collides into the barrier, you've got to repair a Tech Pro or something like that, it means that you have the ability to get it done, and you don't send home fans in between sessions and they can't watch it. You get an empty stadium. A lot of this is rectified. We'll still get a fantastic race put on there. It will still look amazing. Yes, it's going to be a couple of hours earlier in the UK, but Australia will be happy. A lot of Asia are going to be happy. All of the Americas are going to be happy. It's just the UK and Europe that are going to look at this with a frowny face. But that's okay, because 90% of the other Grand Prix typically are in a pretty nice spot for us. So I'll make it an occasion. Maybe I'll put on a copy version of the US offices casino night that they do. And we can then watch Vegas together like that. What do you think?
Nice.
Thanks.
Well, that would mean Harry would have to be awake, so I'm not sure about that, but
unlikely.
In the interest of wrapping up this segment as soon as I won't say too much here, because I agree that the old times just never really worked for anyone, whereas the new times do. It's still a night race, so you still get that element, and you don't have the risk of, I know we're talking about practice here, but like, remember what happened at FP2 a couple of years ago and how fans were kicked out because I can't remember the exact reason, but they had to legally, because they were running everything so late into the night, and I don't know, the risk of that is reduced by having things 2 hours earlier. So yeah, it's a better time for both sides of the United States, better time for Australia, and it's not a significantly worse time for Europe. It's still early in the morning. Who cares?
Still got to feel rough.
Yeah, it is tough, isn't it? We'll take our final break on this episode. On the other side, we play an F1 Alphabetti. Welcome back, everyone. It's time for F1 Alphabetti.
Yo, big boys playing F1 Alphabetti. This game's so hard, my forehead's getting sweaty.
That slap. That really does slap. It's a real shame that you don't like this game, folks, but
that theme song slaps.
Yeah, us playing this is like our version of force feeding. Like, you will like F1 Alphabetti. We'll just play it enough
Just sing
times.
the song. Just sing the jingle to yourselves. You'll love it. You guys like rock? We like rock. Let's rock.
rock.
There are 8 questions in the alphabet from A to H today. All you have to do is pick a letter, and there will be a question with a category with something to do with a word of that letter. Get it right, you get a point. Don't get it right, you don't get a point. Fairly simple.
Blimey.
Sam, what letter would you like to start us off with?
G.
G. Good for George Russell.
Good job.
Sorry, mate. You've picked the true or false question.
Go on, goals.
True or false? 2025 will be the first season George Russell in F1 has been older than his teammate.
Oh, no. Don't like this question. Must think about all the teammates he's had. Robert Kubica was indeed older than George Russell. But has he had any rogue step-in teammates that he's had to go up against? I'm going to say it's true.
You're right. It is
Yay!
true. I actually had a look at this because it goes further back into his junior career as well. In his F3 and his F2 season, he was still younger than his teammates. So the last time he had a teammate that he was older than was in 2016 in European Formula 3. Can you guess who it was that he was older than?
Roberto Merri.
Esteban Ocon.
No. Nikita Mazepin.
Oh,
We were teammates.
Which, yeah, they were teammates in Euro F3 in 2016. And surprisingly, it was fairly close. George Russell finished with 264 points and Nikita Mazepin finished with 10.
Oh, that is surprisingly close.
Yeah.
What I thought he'd
a
get.
whisper.
Could have gone either way. Real back and forth, that. End-to-end stuff.
God.
Right, 1-0 to Sam. Harry, what letter would you like?
I'll go for H for
Yeah, get that in, Doug.
Yeah.
Okay, H is for Hockenheim. This is a difficult question, mate. Not gonna lie.
Can I change my letter?
No.
No, he'll have a brainwave and get it right in about 2 minutes. It's fine.
I'm gonna give you 5 drivers.
Okay.
You have to tell me which of them has won at Hockenheim before.
Show me the options.
I could have written down 5 names that have all won, and you need to say all 5.
Oh.
Maybe I've done the opposite, and none of them have won there.
Ben.
Oh, Ben, that's naughty.
Ben.
Yeah.
I hate you.
I'm really glad I didn't pick this one.
This is hell. Go on then.
I love
H
you
is
too.
for hell.
H is for hell. You've got Kimi Räikkönen,
Yep.
Sebastian Vettel,
Yep.
David Coulthard,
Won everything.
Mark Webber, and Nico Rosberg.
Oh, they're all such maybe answers.
That is horrible. Okay.
You can do it. I'm with you.
You can do it.
I'm giving you my one brain cell for this answer.
Vettel never did, so I'm going to rule him out. Did Raikkonen ever win at Hockenheim? I'm going to go with no on that one too. And who are the others? DC, Rosberg, Webber.
Yeah.
I think the only one that has is Nico Rosberg.
I'm very impressed. Well done.
Oh,
What did I say, by the way, folks?
well, I know he 2014.
14, yeah.
Yeah.
Rosberg won 2014. Webber and Vettel both won at the Nürburgring.
Yeah.
I can't immediately remember if the other two did or not, Raikkonen or Coulthard, but
Coulthard won everything.
apart from Hockenheim.
Won everything with his
And the F1
13,
World Championship.
13 race wins. He won it all.
Origin 13 races.
He won the biggest rival to Michael Schumacher award.
Famously.
Sounds like something Tottenham Hotspur would claim.
Oh, sorry, fangs of Tottenham.
Yeah. 1-1.
I'm
Sam,
a
back to
football
you.
reference, I don't understand.
I go for D.
D stands for D's nuts.
Got him.
I'm never getting this right now.
D stands for Drive to Survive. What season was the first to be covered by Drive to Survive?
I don't remember. Move on. 2018.
You're absolutely right.
Boom.
2018. I wasn't sure if that one was going to catch you out because the first season of Drive to Survive came out in 2019, but it was about the 2018 season.
I
So
understand how seasons work.
well done.
How time works.
Harry, back to you.
I'll go for A, please.
Simple one for you.
I'm coming off both ends.
A
Can't get
is
that
for
wrong.
Abu Dhabi.
Okay.
Which driver has won the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix the most times?
David Coulthard.
I don't usually do this. I'm going to give you a hint. It's not
David Coulthard.
Ah, rats.
That's a shame. Who has won it the most? Oh God, it's quite a mixed bag because no one really cares about it, do they? I feel like even the great drivers get there and then they don't really whatever.
Petrov is the only one that's ever
Yeah.
cared about it.
He really cared. I will go with. I'll go with Hamilton.
It is Hamilton. You're right.
But I couldn't name any of his Abu Dhabi wins.
He's got 5 of them.
Yeah, 17.
You're absolutely right.
17, 18, 19, 15, and 16.
That sounds about right. Because 20 he didn't. 21, something
Max
happened.
won it. Yeah. 22 he didn't win it. 23 he didn't win it. 24 he didn't win it.
He won He won for McLaren.
2011. Oh yeah, he did it 2011.
Yeah.
He won it 5 times. Verstappen has won it 4 times. Vettel won it 3 times, and then Coulthard hasn't won it.
He'll get you.
Go well, 2-all. All 4 questions answered correctly. Sam, back to you.
I'll have B, please, Ben. Ben, B for Ben.
B stands for B-A-R. B-A-R.
Oh, no, we're going to get our first
Here
incorrect.
comes the Buttara.
Famously. Chocolate Biara.
Who did the most races for BAR?
Harry, you're screaming in his brain right now.
That's a tricky question.
Jensen Button. No.
Button is second on
Ah,
so
gonna be
49.
It's gonna be Villeneuve, isn't it?
It is Villeneuve,
Oh.
82.
Is it? He did them for the team. He did the most, but it wasn't called BAR.
Oh no, recount.
Have you counted Honda?
I haven't counted Honda.
That's what I mean. Like JB would have been in the team for longer, though. No.
Oh, for all of Honda.
Oh yeah,
And all
I'm
of Brawn.
just talking when it was called
Yeah.
BAR. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Harry, back to you.
C.
Coin. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
It's like, what was the last one we were talking about? Buttara.
Sarah.
A car.
I'm not going to phonetically spell out constructors with beer all night. Who won a constructors championship first? Mercedes, Ferrari, or McLaren?
Oh, that's a fun question. Bit of history.
Mercedes.
It's not Mercedes, no.
It's a Ferrari.
It's Ferrari. So Ferrari first won the Constructors' Championship in 1961. McLaren first won it in 1974. You're unlucky with Mercedes because they would have had enough points to win the Constructors' Championship a couple of times in the 1950s, but it didn't exist. So
Oh, grow up, Ben.
2014 is the first time they won the Constructors' Championship.
That's annoying.
You've had your pants pulled down there, mate.
I've had absolutely mugged.
Get a change of underwear.
Sam, what letter would you like?
Free. I can't get it in this question.
F stands for Fernando Alonso.
Yes. How big is his neck in diameter?
Correct.
12 C's.
Fernando Alonso. Alonso has only finished third in the Drivers' Championship once. What year?
Oh, grow up, Ben. What year? What year? To pick a year is to pick a moment in time.
Wow, that is profound.
I might give you a point for that. Yeah.
That's really, really deep.
2013.
It's not 2013. Any idea, Harry?
He finished third, he said.
Yeah.
2010?
No.
2011.
Nope. There was a year.
Nope.
we aren't doing this. There was
8,
a year
7.
when Kimi Räikkönen won the championship.
Oh, 7.
Oh, yeah.
Beat him on countback to finish second. Therefore, Alonso finished third.
But at
in
the same
2007.
points. Yeah.
They did.
God,
Yeah.
Hamilton must love that he never lost to Alonso in the same category.
True.
Must feel really good.
Now we come to the most difficult question of all. Harry, what letter would you like?
E.
Pick number E, my lord. E stands for Enzo Ferrari. Finish the Enzo Ferrari quote. Aerodynamics are for people who can't what?
Build
Look like
engines.
Mesut Ozil.
You're absolutely right. Yes, Enzo Ferrari said aerodynamics are for people who can't build engines.
Finish this quote. That's a new feature for this.
Please
know.
never ever provide me with that question.
which means it was a close run thing, but Harry takes a 3-2 win. I feel like the Hockenheim question is the tiebreaker. That's fair enough.
You deserve to win that one.
Thank you. I really thought Ben had gone for it and no one won it.
I was tempted. I was really tempted.
Name one of these drivers who won it. None of them.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
All right. That's going to do it for this episode. We're going to have a Q&A episode coming up very shortly. So I think that will be in 1 week's time. So next Sunday's episode. So wherever the question exists on social and the like, please let us know. And we'll get round to answering as many as we can. We like to do these Q&A episodes a couple of times a year or so. And
you don't have until Sunday to submit your answers because we're not recording it on Sunday.
To be safe, get your questions in by Tuesday.
Be prompt. You can ask anything, right, Ben?
You can ask absolutely anything if it's to do with our thoughts on the upcoming season, maybe a previous season, or you'd like to know what Sam puts on his toast. It doesn't matter.
That would be a good question.
Don't give away the answer
I was
because
going to say, phew, careful.
It's a spicy one.
What you put on there?
Well, not the topping, just the question.
Tabasco sauce.
With pure jalapenos on it.
Why they thought by me?
I've heard QQ Mega listening in to pick up the answer.
Please let it end, Sam. Get us out of it.
Thanks for listening, of course. You can join in the conversation even more if you'd like to. Chat with us in Discord, over 3,000 people chatting there. Or you can join Patreon, where you can get this episode, others, extras, Beer Breaking, historic reviews, and power rankings when we're back into the season, all for the price of a couple of cups of coffee a month. And it massively supports the show. Everything is ad-free over there as well. So check it out. You can cancel after a month if it isn't for you. You go, I don't want this, but it massively helps us out. Follow us on social media, Late Breaking F1. Watch us on YouTube, Late Breaking F1. And we will see you midweek for some more chit-chat in the F1 off-season. So I'm running out of ways to phrase that. In the meantime, I've been Samuel Sage.
I've been Ben Hocking.
And I'm in Harry Eid.
And remember, keep breaking late.